Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about what consultants do because I think that's just one of the big mysteries of the world and no one really knows, and the only answer you ever get is solve complex problems for clients, and that doesn't really tell you much. So I'm gonna try and tell you a bit more about consulting, what is actually involved in it, what it is, why it happens, and some concrete examples towards the end of this video of the things that I've done so far in my year of consulting. In case you're new here, hello, I'm Anastasia. I'm based in London, and about a year ago I started a consulting job in a big four firm. This video is quite a candid chat based on my experience. I am also not really looking up the Google definitions of what is consulting, what do consultants do, because you can do that yourself. I'm just kind of answering based on what I've seen so far, my general feeling, what comes to my mind when I am asked what do consultants do. That's the agenda for today. Alongside this is my working day. So I have done a shower, I've done my makeup, I've had breakfast in the form of leftover lunch, so I don't know if that's socially acceptable or not, but now I'm gonna do a quick workout and then we'll get into the consulting thing. Now moving on to the actual content of this video. Why can no one give you an answer to the question of what do you do in consulting? And I think the short answer to that is there's so much variety under the umbrella of consulting that no one can really define it in a way that would make practical sense, so that would give you any sort of idea of what a consultant might be doing day to day. So that's one. And then the other side is that there's so much confidentiality involved that often if you're in a project, you're in consulting, say you're making videos like I am now, I'm probably not allowed to tell you what kind of client it is, what exactly is going on, any sort of details that would make you deduce what is going on in the market, because a lot of these companies will have significant influence, and if some sort of information about a merger or a cost reduction is leaked, that could have really, really bad consequences for them, for your consulting firm, but also for you. So no one really risks it ever, and I don't think it would be legal to even disclose that sort of stuff. That's why whenever people give you examples of, oh, day in the life of a consultant, I did blah blah for a client that I can't disclose and I can't really tell you too much, I'm sorry, but so that's kind of the gist of how it usually goes. To begin with, some context, what do consultants do? They basically work temporarily for another company to do something. That something could be, quite honestly, anything. Why would companies hire consultants? I think one is because they might not have enough people to do a project they want to do, or a particular change in the company that they want to do, or they might not have the expertise that they think they'll need and the market knowledge, the kind of up-to-date techniques of doing that change, of doing that process, of achieving the goal, achieving a strategy. That's why they would go to a consulting firm and say, could you give us some of your people for a little bit? This is what we need to get done. And then essentially consultants help them to bring that to life and to actually get that done if they are lacking resources to do that themselves. A natural question from that might be, why don't you just have roles in your company that would cater to those needs, that would basically take care of those things so that you don't need to pay ridiculous money to consultants? And that's essentially because a lot of the projects that we do are very time constrained things. For example, if it's something M&A related, merger and acquisition, you might not really need people like that who would cater to M&A specific things all year round. So what you might want to do is actually hire people temporarily, people from consulting, who would be able to do that efficiently, hopefully, and pay them for that period of time, and then they're gone. So essentially, consultants are like contractors, and things like M&A, things like cost reduction, things like restructuring, and maybe the comms or change management involved with that, all of those things are kind of like little projects, little chunks of time that would need people to do those tasks and really get it done. But it doesn't really need a permanent role associated with it. That's why it might make more sense for a company to hire consultants to do that, as opposed to actually advertise a role, fill a vacancy, and then have that person be there all year round. That's, I think, essentially the answer I would give. Coming to the more concrete side of things, consulting is essentially an umbrella term, and consulting could be anything. It's more like consulting is the format that you do work in. You're at a firm, the firm charges the client for your time, and then that repeats whenever you switch projects. Whereas actual content of your work and what you would do day to day really depends on what area of consulting you're in, and that could be anything from strategy to human capital to tech. There's such a range, and whenever you apply to a consulting job, you will apply to a specific department, and within that probably a more niche team. So it's a lot of selection that goes on into getting into a consulting job, and therefore the bit that you're in within consulting will be very, very specific and will involve particular types of projects. So consulting is the format, and then the area you specialize in will actually determine the content of your work and what you actually do day to day. Now, probably the most useful part of this, my personal experience and what I actually do. So within consulting, I sit within human capital, and that means just anything people related. And within human capital, I sit within a team that basically does change management or design of future organization and how it will be structured, how it will be run, things like that. So based on my previous projects, some of the things that I've done so far are org design, and we use software called OrgView to basically visualize the structure of an organization, who reports to who, what teams are there, where are they located, what is the pricing of all the roles that exist in an organization. Then basically structuring the teams in a way that would be efficient, that would make sense location-wise, because there was some location change in terms of which markets the company wanted to keep. And that project lasted a couple of months. So our job was basically to work with the HR directors from the client side, go bit by bit through the whole organization, map out where people are at the moment, and then map out the future state. That was one of my projects. Another one is going to be culture change. And essentially there is a software that, again, our firm has kind of like a partnership with, so we often use them for culture change projects. And that software sent out a survey that essentially gives you a chance to assess what the culture of a company is now, and then what people value personally, but also in work, that they are not currently seeing there, and what would they like it to be. So it's a culture assessment tool, and then we would produce a report to say, here's what the situation is like at the moment, here are the gaps, and then from that we would determine a plan for them to implement for achieving the culture that they want. Those are two very different examples, and that's within my specific little team within human capital, within consulting. So you can imagine how much variety there is. That's why you never really get an answer to what the consultants do. But here are a few examples. I hope it was helpful and actually gave you something concrete to work with. But yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.